Right after this the ad break is very important. You just don't understand how important the ad break is. Well, we are today. There's a puzzle in the title of the stream today that will tell you what we are doing if you solve the puzzle. Stream some pull-ups. The pull-ups are like around the corner, and getting the camera over there would be annoying. I guess I could be like a modern influencer and Periscope from my iPhone, but then I don't know where I would put it that it would see the pull-ups. So I don't know. Have I studied state of the art in macro systems before implementing my own? What is state of the art in macro systems? State of the art would be 1960 Lisp. That's approximately correct. All right. The answer is no, because the main thing that I'm doing or trying to do with the macro system here is do something that's as powerful or actually more powerful than Lisp macros, but in a statically typed imperative programming language. And there's not much in the way of people doing that, right? And that interoperates with the metaprogramming and all that. So like the job of the macro system in this language is to some extent defined by other parts of the language, and that makes it different enough from other languages that, I don't know, it doesn't make that much sense to pay attention to what other languages are doing. That said, you know, it always makes a little bit of sense to do that, but I'm also really busy. Okay. So many painful remove many painful problems that happen when making software that is large and that targets many different operating systems. For some reason, we've decided has built up traditions and tools for doing this that incorporate within them a great deal of pain and of hassle and even pain. Let's say tools and tradition. A great deal of extra work and needless work and increased fragility. And that result is that one spends less time on the actual problem, on the actual subject of the program than one should, and one has less focus when doing so. Further, the friction that comes with these build systems and tools often means that individual programmers and teams will avoid doing certain kinds of things that would be good for the code in order to avoid the associated pain. There we go. Okay. What is my WPM? I don't know. Okay, let's find out what my WPM is. Ready? Ready? I'm going to start a timer. Stopwatch. Okay, ready? I mean, we're only at 22 seconds, so. Uh-oh. Stalled out. Okay, so this will be my PB, but it won't be like max W. I mean, honestly, if you want max W, you do this. Emax is slowing down. My WPM is gated by Emax at this point. Oh God, it's slowing down. Okay, stop. All right. So the W's are actually, I don't know if this disqualifies me because they're still pasting into the buffer. There we go. All right, so I don't know how many W's this is, but that's my WPM. I can't even scroll down the page cleanly now. It just hangs. Okay. Guys, watch this. Here I'm at the start of the W's. I'm setting the point in Emacs. I am now going to press the go to end of file button. And when I do that, it will freeze for a while and then go to the end of the file. All right. So ready? You'll hear the key press. Ready? Now. But don't worry, garbage collection is just fine. This tells you, by the way, the importance of having a good editor. You cannot get max WPM without a good responsive editor. I don't think that was actually garbage collection. I think that was just Emacs Lisp. Lisp is GC'd, yeah, but I mean, I don't think it was spending most of that time in the GC. You know what I'm saying? I think most of that time was probably CPU in some way. I don't know. I mean, I'm not profiling, but the thing is, GC comes along with other choices, right? This is what I keep trying to say. Even if you don't spend all that time in the garbage collector, you're using a system designed for GC, which is going to be about chasing pointers all over the place. All right? Chasing pointers is what kills you on modern computers. The way you avoid chasing pointers all over the place is by doing manual designation of what memory goes where, which is the whole thing that GC was trying to avoid, right? So it's actually very connected. Even if you don't spend time, as much time in the GC there, it's probably word wrapping being horrible. Maybe, but it shouldn't be actively trying to wrap if I just move the cursor. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have dynamic word wrap turned on or anything like that I know of. And do I use set mark to select text? Well, I was gonna delete the W's. Obviously, the computer can't handle as many W's as I can belt out in 1 minute. So, yeah. put E before all those W's. If only I'd thought of that. Does the import work differently if it's after rather than before the main? No. I just put it down at the bottom. So the reason things go at the top in like C is because it's a single pass lexical system. But like if there's an import that people usually import, why put it at the top? Nobody cares, right? It's like, it's fine if it's at the bottom or wherever. And you don't do imports per file in this language anyway. So what it really is you maybe have one place where all the imports go. Okay. We'll avoid doing certain let's just say associated pain that by dealing with the build systems and tools. No, I already said build systems and tools. Example, a C program does not, the C programming language does not contain enough information to specify an entire program. There's no such thing as, there's kind of no such thing as a C program written in C. You also need extra information, supplying extra information that tells you which files to put together into one program, and how also how to enact that process These things cannot be done in the C programming language. So C needs another language on the side that helps you do this, that does this. Thus we have make, but because make is essentially a terrible scripting language with many terrible scripting language problems. So people built more terrible scripting languages on top of make, like CMake and then Ninja, because you can't just make, you can't just change your regular build program to be parallel. You have to put another thing on top of it and so forth. Before long, you are dealing with a large tower of nonsense just in order to compile a C program. Then you go to Windows and none of that nonsense is there. Instead, there's an entire separate pile of nonsense. Maybe you want to put all your stuff, put all your C files into a Visual Studio project, so you can use IntelliSense TMRC and Be smart about editing your code, but Visual Studio breaks sometimes and introduces uncertainty into the basic act of compiling. For example, as of Visual Studio 2017, there is still a race condition where if you edit and save a file while the IDE is compiling your program, do I think I would improve productivity much if I had a better editor? Not really. It would improve somewhat, but probably less than 8%, which would be good. Like an extra 8% would be good. If I knew how to get that extra 8% right this second, I would do it. Edit and save a source file. The IDE will not notice because it marks everything, will not respond correctly because it marks everything as up to date when compilation finishes. When you then compile again, the change you made will not be the change you made will be ignored, and you'll get an executable that does not include Is it called incremental build or partial build? Are those different things? It's incremental link. Is it? I don't know what it's called. What's it called in Visual Studio when you only compile the files that changed? Then you may spend a long time in the debugger trying to figure out why your changes didn't go in. Incremental build. Okay. Then you go to the Mac, and Xcode doesn't care about your Visual Studio project files. So now you get to put all your C files into another project file and get a whole bunch of new problems. And it just keeps going and going. More and more of your programming life becomes and the decisions you make surrounding your program becomes absorbed by dealing with these tools and their constraints rather than by solving the actual problems you wanted to solve in the first place. Okay, I feel like I could write all these paragraphs in a much more convincing manner, but whatever. Okay. Well, this language lets you actually specify the program without requiring external tools to complete that specification, right? Thus, the program itself is well defined in the same way a procedure is well defined, and the same way an individual procedure is well defined. When you go to another operating system, as long as you have the compiler there, your build system just works because you have no inherent dependencies on external tools. It may be a practical necessity at some point that you perform operations in your build that invoke but in these cases you are adding these dependencies yourself and have full power to change them in different for different target environments. Okay. Okay. Enough talking. Let's show some things. All right. So I'm going to start actually writing my little program right now. And then I'll go back and document it after programming. So, are you the only one who feels like some of these pages are excessively verbose and ranty? Well, what do you mean by verbose? Like, am I using a lot of words to say nothing? Because that's what verbose means. Or am I using a lot of words to explain ideas that I'm trying to communicate? That is not really verbose, right? So if there are points where I'm using a lot of words to say nothing, which does happen sometimes, I would appreciate someone pointing that out, and then we can cut that, right? But the actual ideas being communicated here are actually important. Like, you might think this is ranty, but this is the explanation for why the programming language is the way it is, okay? If I don't supply this information, then the documentation is just like the definition of function blah is whatever. And then you're like, okay, but that doesn't give you any understanding. What I'm trying to impart is understanding of the system, of why it is the way it is, because that helps you know how to use it, right? This is a thing that like programmers don't understand, right? Many programmers don't understand, is that definitions of things are not good documentation. This is actually not one of the ones that I feel best about. Actually, the explanation that I feel the best about is the one we did a month or two ago about memory management. That was way longer than this, by the way. That one, where was it? Yeah, like this one, it's 1,000 lines. Over here, we've only done 59 lines so far. The memory management one just goes on, guys. But that's my favorite one that I remember. I opened a open paren while ranting about Visual Studio. Let's see. Where are the open parens? There's one, but that's the end paren. There's one. Oh, yeah, this one. We can semicolon here. This is a very run-on sentence. There's a lot of commas in that sentence. It's fine. Yeah, that 2014 talk on YouTube, the ideas about a new programming language for games, I actually don't recommend that anymore because it's fairly different from how the language turned out. You know. Oh, incorrectly. Why did I type correctly? The IDE will behave incorrectly. How about behave rather than respond? Because it's not a visible response. Okay. So what I want to do is I just want to show workspaces and builds. So I want to have a program that we build, like target program text is a string, whoops, and then target program entry point. Okay, let's just do this. And then we're going to go main. Let's call it text, yeah. Okay. All right, we had an F. Yeah, it's probably not Twitch's fault. It's probably my home internet. Twitch is probably responding badly to the F, but it is what it is. Okay, so I'm just calling factorial. We're going to learn our factorial tables. All right. And here we're going to go import basic and factorial. Just our regular Lisp version of factorial. Actually, we could do that down here, because we don't need basic for this. Okay, so we're going to go import compiler create workspace, add build string target program text W entry point text W. That's it, I think. Actually, let's do the thing from where we turn off our own build options. Oh, it was here. Okay, so that's a pretty good explanation, I guess. All right. Okay, so we have a, whoops. What did I do wrong? Oh, right. I was stupid. This doesn't actually get run. This procedure build there we go. Okay, so this just sets up a workspace that calls another program, that builds another program so far. I hope you remember your factorial tables. But we're going to go further than this because we always go further. We always go further. Okay. We're going to say let's shorten some things. Let's call this options. Right. Do this. Okay. So we're going to get the build options. We're going to set the executable name to debug. Optimization level. Where's our optimization level? Debug. Right. Okay. So we're going to do this. All right. So that should change the, whoops. Let's just call it W. There we go. So now it's called factorial debug. Now we're going to do factorial release. Whoops. What happened there? We might have something to debug. So now we're building two builds. Actually, because I just compiled with the x64 backend, they're the same because x64 doesn't optimize. So changing the optimization level doesn't do anything. LLVM didn't respond well. Cannot open file. Did I break that? Maybe there's a race condition and it's just trying to do it too fast. Anyway, I'm going to finish writing the documentation and then we'll figure out WTF. Anyway, for this one, you can see that the release build is actually bigger than the debug build. Okay, no, okay, there's something really broken because this is supposed to generate 4 things. It's assuming the same threads or whatever. Let me LVM options. If I do this, I bet it works. Yeah. So the LLVM backend, in order to be faster, because LLVM is a pain in the butt, we actually do separate modules, 4 separate ones, and then link them. And that code, I guess, when it was being written, did not keep in mind that it might need 4 separate threads per every single worker workspace. So we have to fix that maybe later today. Maybe that'll be like a crank session or something. But I don't want to put a no check in here because I do want to check this in. Okay, anyway. So here we're building a debug and a release build with the same things. Lol. This is all scrambled because we're outputting 2 strings at the same time, which is great. And then let's do a third one. Called factorial DLL. And we're going to make options.output type equals .dynamic library. We add the text for the body of the program, but we don't add main because this is a library, so it shouldn't have main. we might choose instead to supply an alternative DL main on Windows or whatever. Okay. Okay, we'll make better explanations for those eventually. All right, so there we go. So we have a DLL, an EXE, and a lib, and that will work cross-platform, right? If I had a Linux machine right here, all that would work there as well. Can you encrypt the code of your library and provide a decode run command for compilation in a way that users will not be able to read your library code? We don't have something like that yet. Oh, do we have fatal error? Hold on. We don't have something like that yet, but we will later. Cannot open factorial release 0.obj. Yeah, the LLVM backend needs some work. What this is telling us is that the LLVM backend is not prepared. Like, I believe if I do this on x64, yeah, x64 is fine. x64 is fine. LLVM is not fine. So we're going to need to attack that. Anyway, thanks for noticing that, because I might not have noticed, but that's the bug that we have to attack. But yeah, I actually talked about this. I don't know if the stream is archived, but we're going to have something to help library authors. The thing is, though, you don't want to distribute a fully compiled binary because A, then you don't get all the flexibility provided by the language, but also B, well, you make more of a pain in the butt for your users when you do that, but B, you can't use a lot of the higher powered features of the language if the thing is fully compiled. And so what we need to have is a format that is not source format, right? But that is also not readable or not, not something that you could continue to develop as software of your own if you took it. That's the plan there. But that part isn't implemented yet. Wow, chat just died. The fatal error made everybody so sad that nobody is saying anything anymore. Wake up, chat. It sounds like a difficult problem to solve. I don't think it's that hard. You just make it a binary format that could be faster to load anyway. It would still be decompilable, but so is an executable. Like, reverse engineering tools these days are pretty good in terms of giving you something kind of source-like from an executable. And so, that part of it is maybe not that bad. Is the compiler structured in such a way that the IR could already serve that purpose? Not really, because by the time you get to the IR, For example, by the time you get to the IR, you've already done all your polymorphs and whatever, right? So you wouldn't be able to have a polymorphic function in your library, right, if you did that. And polymorphism is a big part of the language's power, so it doesn't seem like the right way to do it. Would you still need something like function and struct declarations? You would, but you could strip the names of those and just make them be numbers or something for things that are not user. Well, it depends. Like, it's all complicated, right? Because maybe you want people to be able to debug and see the names of functions, because that'll help them know what's going on. It's unclear. Like, we'll probably have several options of what you could do, right? But like, the compiler knows, for example, which things you are exporting to the outside and which things you are not. And you could just randomize the names of things that are not, right? And you could you pack them in a binary format. You have a string table that's like separate from everything else. So it could even be a more efficient format. For all the for the syntax tree, you have that be a binary serialization. So you know, it's not like you can edit it very easily, etc. Right? Like, it's just kind of a binary format, but that still has the thing. Do I plan on making a talk that sums up the language before it goes into open beta? Not necessarily. I mean, maybe we'll figure that out when the time comes. But I think by the time we go into open beta, there will be enough closed beta users who could help people out that might actually be more useful than me giving a talk or something. We'll see. Like, I might do, yeah, like a 1 hour, like, here's an intro of what this language is about from a high level might be good. But that also doesn't, I guess what I'm saying is that also doesn't help people with minute to minute figuring out how to program things, right? It could supply context, like the explanation up there did. It could supply context about what's going on, but it can't really. Might run into all on the same page issue that I mentioned. No, that's definitely true. No, I mean, I'm not saying I wouldn't try to communicate. I'm just saying at some point, I cannot spend most of my time communicating about the language, or else things stop moving forward. You know what I mean? So I just need to figure that out. And part of that, though, like these explanations that I'm writing, part of the reason I'm doing this is to help solve the not all on the same page problem. You know what I mean? So we'll see. We'll see how it works out. Kind of related, you're thinking about designing a plugin interface, realize and see it would be hard to figure out which functions some user actually used. So you provide a single list of all the headers. Yeah, that is definitely something you could analyze in this language for sure. Okay, so let me warm up some tea, and then I think this is going to be everything that this program does. And I will write down on a piece of paper, because we might get more big to-dos today. I'll write down on a piece of paper, fix LLVM backend. I'll say here, now we'll make a release build containing the same code in order to keep things clearly visible. We've just pasted out a linear sequence of code here, but in a more complicated program, you might factor this into a function that creates a workspace, applies the options, and adds strings or whatever. Okay. Anyway, while I warm up the tea water, are there any more questions on what we're doing right here? Oh, what I should say is I want more rant. I want more rants. We're going to do another sweet and spicy tea bag today. Trying to look for the expiration date on this. I feel like it's pretty old. They did not put one. It's probably not more than 3 years old. It's fine. How does it feel to see a 6+ year plan plus execution come to fruition? Well, it hasn't come to fruition yet. But also, like, The Witness took 6.5 years to make, so it's not like I haven't done this before. You know? Does the interface constraint also check that the type has certain procedures implemented, or does it only check for fields? What do you mean by the interface constraint? What we were talking about before is any interface constraint that you would implement. I don't understand the question. Do you mean, is this about the obfuscating code for shipping commercial products? Like, I'm not sure what that has to do with methods or not methods. How do you get the list of unknown symbols from a DLL? I mean, you have to do operating system specific things for that. It's about the $t/interface. Oh, I see. does it check that the type has certain procedures implemented? No, interface right now. Well, like if you had statically defined procedures in the type, it could do that, but I don't like doing that anyway. Interface is just about checking that a struct has members with certain names and certain types. That is exactly all that it does right now. And so whatever you can do with that, you can do. Otherwise, rip. Can I share about how to be productive in getting into the deep focus mode? Just sit your ass down and do some work. Like, it's not hard. Just decide that you want to do the work. To be fair, you don't actually have to sit your ass in the chair and do the work. You could use a standing desk instead. Or like if you have neck problems, you could use one of these weird like laying desks. All right. All right, it's breakfast, so we're having another salad. Delicious breakfast salad. That's the great. So normally, I don't like salads and stuff, right? But if I haven't had them in a long time, it's actually not bad. Have a good salad, right? B, if you go to Amazon Fresh and tell Tim Apple to deliver you some salads, like, salad meal kits and whatever, then also you don't have to actually make the salad. And also, if you don't eat them within like 3 or 4 days, the 5 salads that you ordered, they're going to go bad and be gross. And so like you kind of have to eat the salads at that point. It's a good strat. Checking if a type had an operator overload available could maybe be done today. It depends. Like checking if somebody uses that operator overload would be very easy because you just find the code that uses it. Checking if they could use it, like if one exists somewhere in a namespace, might actually be a little bit awkward right now. You actually could do it. Like if you you could look at every function declaration that comes through the metaprogram and say, oh, is this an operator overload for plus for this particular type or whatever, right? But the thing that would be awkward right now is knowing if that's in the namespace of any other particular point in the program. But that's something we're going to work on and make better. So, yeah. Putting fish in a salad seems weird to me. I mean, maybe. Yeah, I don't know. That seems weird. How much do I think in terms of things being in many dimensions? Can you give me an example of what kind of thing that you're asking? What if the leaves are seaweed? That changes it. Actually, no, you're right. Tuna totally works in a salad. What am I talking about? You're watching a clip of me talking about refactoring and how refactoring is important because it frees up constraints. You're thinking about how you can think of the code base as some super high dimensional space, but in some of the dimensions, things are constrained. Yeah, I mean, sort of. The thing is, a geometric analogy there doesn't really work that well for me because high dimensional spaces are hard to visualize to begin with, right? And geometric intuition doesn't work that well. But different intuitions work better for different people. So yeah, I don't know. When I think about things like the set of all possible programs, what do I visualize? Not really anything concrete. That's just not a thing that I think about. Like the set of all possible programs is very large. Okay. But again, I mean, if you visualize something when you think about the set of all programs and that helps you, then that's great. Like, I'm a big believer in visualization. I think it helps a lot. It's just certain things. Well, it's hard to explain, right? So like, even like if I'm refactoring a program like the compiler, I have a way of imagining what that program is that lets me mentally manipulate it before I go type the things. But I almost don't know. It's very subtle, like whatever I'm thinking of. Like I don't like see pictures, right? So I don't have a specific thing to explain. But it's just like I know where some stuff is and I know where I could move it and whatever else. Yeah, I mean, I do agree that for me, visualization is not the right word because I don't do mental visualization like at all. But I do something like visualization that is non-visual. And I do think it's important for programming to be able to do that. Okay, so I was going to go back and explain up here. Because the build system is in the same language as your main program, you gain several force multipliers that you wouldn't have, that you wouldn't otherwise have. That's a nonsense phrase. You gain several force multipliers. First, your expertise in the main programming language now applies to the build language. If you know how to, you don't need to memorize a bunch, to learn a bunch of tips and techniques that only work in the build language. Furthermore, you can actually share code between and because you probably work much more, you hopefully spend much more time working in the main language, and because even when using something like C, you hopefully working in the main language, then the build language, this then when using this system, you can expect to be much more proficient in the build language than you would otherwise be. Furthermore, you can actually share code between your main program and the build program, which is great. Any data structures you like to use, any common worker functions you just use. Lastly, because the language you use to build the program is a real programming language rather than a scripting language, you don't have the scripting language kind of problem where you start suffering once things get complicated. Once things get big and complicated. Where you suffer increasingly. I mean, that also happens in non-scripting languages. What is the exact problem with scripting languages? Is that they don't scale. Let's just say where you suffer once things get big and complicated. Scripting languages are usually designed around getting something simple to happen quickly, but their semantics tend to be error prone, which bites you once things stop being simple. And also, they just tend to be designed in ways that try ignore the problems that large programs have, so they don't help you once your build logic gets big, and in fact can be a huge hindrance. But here you have a strongly typed imperative programming language with polymorphism, name spacing, with data structures, namespacing, and whatever else. Okay, that's fine for now. This whole thing could be rewritten better. Isn't having a big build logic a problem in itself? Yes, it is, but sometimes you need that. That's just a thing, right? Like, your problem is your problem, and you should always, yes, you should always try to make your code as simple as possible to solve the problem that you have. Absolutely. But the problem that you have is the problem that you have. Like the build for Sokoban is like 1,000 lines. And that doesn't even include any of the files, right? The Sokoban game includes the files. So like this probably could be cleaned up a little bit, but you know, we actually want to do about 1,000 lines worth of stuff, which honestly, I would not want to do in a make file. 1,000 lines of logic, right? Language that tells you at compile time when you typo an identifier that has data structures, namespacing, and whatever else. Okay, great. Go Bananas is in Sokoban, yeah. That actually only takes a few lines because the actual Bananas logic is in another file. But like, I was like, that's a good test of Go Bananas to have it be in Sokoban. Would you need 1,000 lines for the same logic in a build system? It would probably be more. Well, a lot of the stuff in there you can't even do in a build system without invoking a lot of external tools as well. So like part of that 1,000 lines is look through the compiled program for functions that are tagged a certain way and then generate code that creates the hooks or whatever, right? Yeah, I actually want to port that. We'll probably do this on a later stream today or tomorrow, but I actually want to port that to a simplified version for the how-to here. Yeah, so we'll see. Does Go Bananas still work? I don't know. It probably doesn't work due to like rendering API changes or something like that. Because we changed the graphics code a lot. Is a build code compiled or disinterpreted? Well, it is compiled to a bytecode format that is then interpreted. So, but that compilation process does all the type checking and all these things, right? It gives you all the program safety right now that you would get from an executable. The only thing is you don't get the speed of an executable yet. There's a very decent Rust library for writing object files in all platforms, which seems to have minimal dependencies. No, I wouldn't. Writing object files does not replace the linking stage. We already write object files ourselves. That's before the linking stage. The linking stage is what puts the object files together into an executable. Right? Have you tried running Sokoban in bytecode? I haven't. In theory, it should work. It would probably be kind of slow, but it should work. I don't know. That might be a fun experiment to do one day. It might turn up bugs in compile time execution. I'm almost tempted to do it right now, but I don't want to derail because I want to do this documentation and ship the beta, you know. Hiccup. Do it now. No, we're not going to derail. Could write the x64 backend output into memory and then jump into it. That is true. We could do that. It's just the problem is it's not totally that simple because you need to be able to jump back out because there's ways that compile time execution interfaces with the compiler. And so that would just have to be done correctly. And it's a little mini project at least to do that. So for now, we're just staying with the interpreted version. Theoretically, it should just be run main. Yeah. Okay, let's try it. But I feel like it's not going to work. There's like there's some metaprogram stuff that really complicates this. Whoops, not first. Here. What's the best way to do this? I could just put a run main here. Let's try it. Dude, I don't know. It's just like the whole program isn't quite like it gets supplied by the meta program. I don't know what's going to happen. Let's see. Assert failed in line 1097. Let's see. Oh, because I'm not in the right folder. Hold on. Because we don't set the working directory, right? Okay. It's unable to load files. Why? I thought we set the working directory. Oh, because of this. Hold on. Let's not do this. So this thing says get path of running executable, which if we're in the compiler. All right, hold on. Let's just not do this for now. It's like setting the working directory to the directory of the compiler. All right, we have a window. I probably should have, all right. Attempt to call a foreign procedure at compile time, but it is imported by a foreign library directive with the no DLL option without a dynamic. Okay. So our audio library doesn't have DLLs, or it didn't. It might have DLLs now, but the problem is for compile time execution, you need DLLs. We actually might be able to fix that because I think somebody did check in DLLs, but again, we're getting into a rat hole. I think now though, so we have release and release static CRT, but what's really, no, okay, there's no DLLs. Like the vendor doesn't provide DLLs. So what we could make it work. We would just have to say, if you're running at compile time, don't do the audio library, right? Which is an interesting illustration, right? Like this shows you how just one of the many concrete ways in which this compilation model that we have of building libraries into pre-existing executables that have certain things about them and then linking those executables in certain ways, that induces friction and makes it harder to do things, right? If WIs were native in this programming language and we were just compiling from source, we wouldn't have this problem at all. It wouldn't exist, right? But because it exists, now we have to do things to deal with it because somebody else made that problem for us, right? And that's what we're trying to avoid with this whole system. But yeah, so what we would do, so I would have a few things like there's some, I forget where the procedure is, but there's a procedure where you can say, if you're not running at compile time, right, then do this. And, you know, and we would do the same thing with the audio. We'd be like, look, if you're running at compile time, just don't play audio and don't try to load the audio, the WI's module, right? But like the program ran pretty far till it hit that. Like it initted OpenGL and opened a window and was loading textures and stuff. So yeah. All right. End of rat hole. Can't you create a DLL that wraps the lib? I don't know, maybe. I mean, it's like 100 libs. It's not like the lib, so you'd have to really own the libs to do that, I think is what we're saying. Imagine trying to do the same with const expr or whatever. You can't even printf. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. It's a little bit annoying, that WI's thing, but, you know, maybe we'll make that be a fun project on a different day. Maybe that'll be like a part of a crank session or something, because it would be running the full, okay. it would be a very good test of compile time execution to run the Sokoban game, first of all, to make sure it's playable. Secondly, to run the Benny test through all the levels at compile time. Like, that would be a scale of compile time execution test that we have not ever done, you know? I'm actually amazed that it worked as well as it did. I thought we would run into some problem with adding the command procs, but I don't believe that that happened. I think that was fine. Yeah. So here is where it added the command procs and all that. So it's great. It's almost like a real programming language. Have I used tags in Emacs? No. I don't even know how that works. All right, it is 9 a.m., right? My clock is still, by the way, an hour ahead, even though I've rebooted this computer twice. You used to be able to go in Windows and just like change the time here, but you can't now. So like, I guess I can click on the day and it flashes and does nothing. So my computer's just permanently an hour off. I don't know what to do about that. But 9 a.m. means green tea. You can jump between function definition in different files. I mean, how is it going to parse the language? There's a sync now button in date and time settings. Where even is that, and why isn't it here? Why isn't there like a gear right here? Why do I have to go to this idiotic Windows Store thing that has nothing to do with it? Like, what? Sync now. It worked. Right-click the clock. Right-clicking the clock doesn't... Oh, here, I see. I tried right-clicking it once it was up. But here... Ah, it's the same window. Okay. Still bad UI, but better. I can't believe I can actually now tell what time it is by looking at the time. That's crazy. Okay, let's go back to the thing. We are going to compile a program in several different ways. To show how the build system works, we're going to compile a program in several different ways. Normally, we'll call that the target program. The thing that makes the target program we'll call the build program. Normally, in a large project, the target program would be stored in separate files, but to keep this example simple, we're storing it in strings. We could store the program in one string, but because we want to include different combinations of the strings in different builds, I'm breaking them into two sections. The string representing the main, the body of the target program, and the string representing the entry point main. Here's the text for the body of the program. Here's the text for main. Okay. We'll just put some spaces around this to make it more readable. Keep in mind that for the program that runs when you compile this file, factorial and main above do not get compiled. They are just strings. You would not be able to call factorial from this file, as it doesn't exist here. I don't know. I don't know how to say this. Does anyone have suggestions on how to say this better? I'm just trying to say, don't be confused and think that these are procedure declarations. They're just inside strings. The string directive above lets us write factorial and main in nicely formatted ways that almost look like look just like they would look if they were actual function declarations inside this file. But they aren't. They're only inside strings. So factorial and main do not get compiled at all inside this program, inside this build program. Okay. Yeah, we only produce multiple object files for the LLVM build. x64 outputs one object file, right? The problem is, and we could output one executable file if we wanted to. That's not the hard part. The hard part is linking against C libraries that other people need to use, such as, for example, the WWise libraries or whatever. Okay. Okay. Now we will build several different versions of the target program. We do this by creating workspaces inside the compiler. Each workspace represents a completely separate environment inside which we can compile things. Different workspaces cannot see each other. Different workspaces are totally separate. Each other's namespaces cannot see each other's namespaces, imported modules, or anything like that. They are totally separate. I don't know. So up here we say, inside which we can compile things. This workspace structure was one of the is one of the key reasons compile time execution works very well. You can run a bunch of code that uses global data, imports modules and so forth inside one workspace, such as this one, and these things do not affect the target program at all. Or you can compile separate target workspaces, as we will do now, and they do not affect each other at all. Okay. Okay. I want to say, I'm still not done with this paragraph, but then I also want to say, when the compiler starts up, it makes a workspace for the first code that you compile. For the first code, for the first files that you tell it to compile on the command line. In this case, when the compiler starts up, command to compile 400 workspaces. This creates an initial workspace that compiles this build program. This routine build will then make several other workspaces. I don't need to capitalize workspace everywhere. I am capitalizing workspace sometimes because it is the name of an actual data type defined in modules compiler. That many functions act on. I don't know. This explanation's kind of not going anywhere. Thoughts on Spear V? I don't know. I kind of like Peppermint V better. You just drove 850 miles already? It's noon. What time did you leave? Did you leave at like 3 a.m.? I guess that's a good way to skip traffic. It's not even noon. In Colorado Springs, it's like 11 a.m. It's crazy. Last night, okay. I do not do long road trips at night because sometimes I fall asleep while driving, and that's very bad. You didn't want to waste your Saturday, but aren't you going to end up sleeping through your Saturday? Maybe not. Maybe you're just like all-nighter and you're good to go. That only has to happen once for it to be real bad. Yes. Fortunately, it has only ever happened for very small amounts of time, and then I woke up while I was swerving off the road. Actually, last time that happened in a serious way, I was living in Austin. So that is a thing. Have I ever had nightmares of being stuck in a puzzle I can't solve? Not that I remember. No. No. Okay. Each workspace creates a completely separate environment inside which we can compile programs. I don't know. This is fine for now. We'll do a rewrite on this later, probably. We want to set options on the workspace to control how compilation happens. To do this, we use set build options, giving it a build options data structure, giving it an instance of the struct build options in modules compiler. We could initialize, we could declare a default build options, but here I am going to use get build options to get the options from the current workspace, then apply changes. This propagates any changes to build options that happened earlier in the program, or that were made by outer workspaces that may have started this workspace. Which doesn't happen in the normal way you'd compile this example, but you could imagine doing it with the knowledge gained from this example. Or changes that were made by command line options, such as -x64 or -LVM. Okay. We must do this before compiling, before adding source for the target program. As soon as we start adding source, the compiler will begin compiling the program in an asynchronous way. It's illegal to change the options once this starts happening, because that would result in inconsistent compilation. Now it's time to add the source. Since we're making an executable, we'll add both the body of the program and the entry point. That's all we have to do. The workspace is now compiling and will produce an executable when done in a larger program if the code is in files and not strings. If the target code, we would use add build file instead of add build string. Alternatively, we could dynamically generate strings here and add them to the program. Okay. Let's create 3 versions of the program. A debug build, a debug executable, a release executable, a debug executable, a release executable, release executable a is it release or debug DLL? It's release dynamic library. Okay, great. So good. We do that. We do this. We do this. For this workspace, all the routines like add build string, set build options, and so forth take their workspace parameter as optional. If you don't provide that parameter, it means to apply these actions to the currently running workspace. Okay. Get a fresh value of options. Oh, up here, let's say, never forget that you have a powerful programming language at your disposal when doing build stuff. For example, the print routine, the print function is very strong and lets you see a lot with very little effort. For kicks, let's print out the build options for this workspace. Oh, workspace isn't defined. Yeah. W and options. Did I say that workspace is defined actual data type? Let's just say there. Okay. So there we go. Let's actually make the formatting for this nicer. Context.default format struct dot why didn't it use long form? Oh, use new lines if long form is true. It's not called default format struct. Oh. Oh, print style. Print style. There we go. So like, that's our frickin' build options. It doesn't really indent very well. We could fix indentation right now. Wouldn't that be nice? Let's do that. I think beta users would appreciate fixing indenting in nested struct prints. Very flexible. I don't know. Yeah. Okay. Let's do this. So, okay. Okay. So, wait. We do the +1 here. Do the -1 down there. All right. Oh, print style. I keep forgetting the print style. I keep forgetting the print style. All right. Great. Except I don't do that. On the end brace. Okay, where's the end brace? Braces. End string. Oh, down there. Okay. Incomplete control indentation string. Let's say width. Right? We could do that. Why didn't that work? Oh. There we go. Okay. Great. How's that for a strong print function, bro? The equals have to be aligned. We could do that option later. I could see wanting it either way. Um, let's do this. Change log. The print functions in basic print now indent when printing nested structs if printing in long form, and you can control the width of indentation in via context print style default format struct.indentation width. Okay, well, let's make that not be a lie now. Used when outputting in long form, right? Well, structs. Okay. Let's line these up. Okay. Why does my long form separator between fields have a space? That's weird. Because we do new. Oh, because it might not have new line. All right. Hold on. So, oh yeah, we have our local variable and use new lines. All right. Use new lines. Append indentation builder. All right. So append indentation is going to be well, we're going to have 16 spaces in a thing. And we're going to say depth is context.printstyle.indentation depth. Oh, 16 spaces. Let's call it spaces 16, whatever. So depth is going to, or spaces, num spaces is this times, what did we just say it was? Context.printstyle.indentation width. Num spaces is less than or equal to 0. Return. If some jackhole puts a -1 as the indentation width, we don't freak out. Div is spaces 16 divided by 16. Mod is 16 mod 16. All right. For 1 to div, append builder spaces 16 and remainder is spaces 16 remainder dot count equals mod append builder remainder, and there we go. All right. Print style indentation width. Indentation. Oh, right. Default format struct. Yeah. Oh, but actually, we don't want to use the default always. Hold on. How do we, so format. We want to pass format. Yeah. So this is format dot indentation width, because you can override that format for various structs. All right. Whoops, not spaces 16 divided by 16. Num spaces. Guys, I'm stupid. Tim Apple has totally fired me. I bet people were looking at that code and saying, what the hell is he doing? Okay. Append builder. Oh, actually, right. We can go append builder spaces 16.data mod. Like that. Okay. There we go. So now we're doing it again, but let's go back to our program, which was here, and we're going to say, just to be silly, what's it called again? Indentation width equals 3. A silly indentation width, but we are setting these parameters to show off. Okay. There we go. 3 space indentations, bro. Does C do that? No, it does not. I make you angry? Why? Why 3 is unethical? I know 3 is unethical. Okay. How about this? You know what's more unethical than 3? 41. And the reason 41 is unethical is it's 1 short of 42. All right. There we go. 41 space indentation. I hope you are happy. You made me do this. Okay. This has pointed out that this is not correct, interestingly. I don't know why that's not frickin' 41. You did help find bug. That is true. What? Why are there 4 spaces here? Who the hell put 4 spaces? Oh, it was me. Why is Emacs? Emacs is not searching for literally. Oh, because I didn't do this one, guys. Remember? I meant to go down here and do this one, and I didn't. Append indentation. Builder format. Bing, bing, bing. Okay. 41. See, it's in the right place now. Win. X64 options what? That's being printed out. Oh. Oh, yeah. Because I didn't. Okay, good point. If use new lines, append indentation. Okay. There we go. It's fixed. Look, it's fixed. It's fine. Don't blame me for anything. My LLVM options is goofed though. How? Why is LLVM options while being an empty dictionary has 41? No, it's not. LLVM options is this whole thing, which I understand may be unclear given that it's 41 spaces away, okay? But let's put this back on a more ethical indentation level, such as 3, so that you can actually see what it is. It's this. Of course you misread it. It was 41 space indentation. Who can read 41 space indentation? It's nonsense. The reason I'm picking 3, okay, the reason I'm picking 3 is because 4 is the default. And so I wanted to set it to something that's not the default. 4 is obviously the right indentation for everyone in the world. That's why it's the default. And so we had to change it off the right indentation for everyone in the world just to show that you can. Do I even? I don't actually. I do not even lift. It's sad. I should. I should even lift, but I do not even lift. Okay, this has been good. I think we're done here for now. We do have that LLVM backend bug that should be fixed before I ship the beta, but I want to keep going on documentation. That is what I am motivated to do right now, is do documentation. What do I think about Web GPU API? I think Web anything API is stupid and should die. When does the workspace complete? When the program is done compiling. I said that. Game compiles. Great. Tests. Whoops. I need to be in the right folder. I'm going to warm up some more tea water. What am I writing? The TOS and Cheesecake browser. I would like a Cheesecake browser right now. What do I think about current state of physics? I don't know enough about the current state of physics to say anything. Okay. Let me just copy some stuff from changelog. So we're going to do a command line how-to next, which I haven't thought that much about. Are there linker options exposed from the workspace build options yet? Yes, there are. You can either set link options, or you can just say, you can give it a callback and say, call this callback to link, and I will run the link command myself, which is a more powerful way to do it, right? What are my thoughts on languages running in a VM and VMs being virtually undetectable if written correctly? I don't know. Like what? Why? Will the witness be released on the PS5? I don't know. Like, I think for now, like, I think a re-release of the game that really takes advantage of having more CPU and GPU would be, it would be kind of like what we're doing for Braid Anniversary Edition, where it would be a substantial development effort. And it's probably just a little too soon to do that for the witness, right? You know, maybe in a few years. But as far as I know, PS5 does PS4 back compat, right? So people should be able to just buy the witness on PS4, which has it has like the 4K option that we put in for PS Pro, and that should run. I think that ran at 30 on PS Pro, so I wonder if it runs at 60 on PS5. I'm not actually sure. Like you might get something better out of it than you could get on PS4. You know what I mean? Could I imagine how much work PS5 changes would be? I mean, it really depends on what we decide to do. Like if I do a director's cut of the witness or whatever, that's not exactly right because it is director's cut already. But if I did a revised version of the witness, I would probably want to tweak some puzzles and stuff, right? And that's like game development all of a sudden. That's not just a re-release. 8K on PS5? I don't know about that. Oh, you don't think it does 60 automatically? Maybe there's an override you could do. Anyway, I'm not promising that it would do that, by the way, because I honestly don't know how it works. I'm just saying it has back compat. I can warrant that the witness on PS4 works better than Cyberpunk 2077 on PS4. I can guarantee that. More than that, I don't know. studio interference cut of the witness. All right, let me get my tea. I'm going to spend a couple minutes to answer a timely email on my laptop, but while that's happening, any more on-topic technical questions that you want to queue up, if it takes a few sentences to write out, then good. I got my laptop doing vacation prep, and, you know, because this would be next week, it's important for me to reply to things in a timely manner. Okay, just about done. Okay, I have replied to the vacation planning email. I also have a Bengal spice tea. Have I ever, ideally recently, talked through my intermediate representation? Having grown up in the postmodern C++ world, you're not sure how you would accomplish asked polymorphism without copious dynamic allocation via new. You're not sure how you'd accomplish asked polymorphism without copious dynamic allocation. I'm not sure how those two things interact exactly. The compiler does a ton of dynamic allocation, though. Like that's not the question. It does metric ass loads of dynamic allocation. The difference is just it's very, very inexpensive dynamic allocation compared to calling malloc, so it's fine, right? That's the difference. Memmove intrinsic. I mean, I want to work on this documentation and then fix this bug, but putting memmove on the list definitely makes. Let me write that down on this piece of paper. I'm not sure it needs to be an intrinsic exactly, because it could just be an inline function, because I think all you would do is test the ranges and then, call either one or two mem copies. Isn't that how it usually works? So people could write that at user level right now. It's just a question about whether we provide one in a module like basic or something. But I don't feel like memmove is an intrinsic necessarily. Yeah. Because it's also not the, like, ordered overlapping memory copy is not the thing that is actually fast, right? Like on modern systems, if you want to do the fast thing, you like use hardware to copy some memory, and that hardware ain't going to care about ordering or overlapping, which is why there's a difference, right? So like, I think that's the intrinsic, but who knows? Is there an easy way to embed binary and text file resources? There are, from your build program, you can call operating system level stuff that does that, but we are like 1% of functionality away from letting you do that in a platform independent way. It's just I haven't thrown the switch on that. Bengal spice gets really strong sometimes. Since when is Casey streaming for pay only? So Casey, I've had some conversations with him about this, and I have to say I understand where he's coming from. The thing about the internet is it's full of very entitled people. There's a squeeze from two directions. On the one hand, it's full of very entitled people who will complain about everything you do, but who also are not supporting what you do in any way. So they're a constant energy drain, right? That's number one. And then number two, these platforms that you do these things on, like have all these ad supported models, which are inherently, like ad supported content is inherently abusive of, this is me speaking, not Casey, by the way. He would probably say something different, but ad supported stuff is inherently abusive of your mind, right? It's much better to have a pay for content relationship than an advertise relationship. In part also because that affects the content in a way that historically it wouldn't. Not just people begging you to like, subscribe, and upvote and rate 5 stars on the App Store, but also, you know, what the rest of the content is besides that. It's just not a good situation. And so, I mean, honestly, if the internet keeps getting worse, I would consider somehow going to pay only. Like, I would consider having a pay only video feed like for this right now. It wouldn't be that much. It might be a token amount. It might be like $1 a month or something. But like just to change the quality of the interaction, right? Just to make it, and also just as somebody, it's an interesting thing, right? Because part of what people get is, hey, you come to a channel on Twitch for a particular streamer, and the other people in chat like have somewhat similar interests, right? So the people here are going to be interested in programming and interested in a certain kind of programming, and you get to talk to those people and stuff, right? And the better that that's curated, the better of that part of the experience that the whole audience gets to have, right? And the thing is, Twitch is not very good about that as channels grow. So, you know, in a bigger streamer's chat, it's just spam like constantly, right? And even when you don't get that big, like there's a quality of curation of the audience that could make things better or worse. And, you know, if you charge a token amount such that the main people who show up are actually interested, then it just helps increase the quality of that. So I'm kind of on board with that. The thing is, you do reduce audience anytime you do that, and I do want some of the stuff that I do to have a pretty big audience. So like when I do a YouTube video or whatever about a lecture or something, like having that be as free as possible is probably a good idea. But like for random stuff like this, I mean, if there were a platform, if there was a platform like Patreon, but that you subscribe and see people's streams, I guess that's OnlyFans, right? But like a normal thing, not an OnlyFans thing. I might do that. Only streams. You can make streams sub only. Can you? I don't know if Twitch lets you actually do that. Oh, okay. Well, I will consider that option for at least some streams then. We'll see how it goes. Like it could be, you know, sometimes I start a stream and I'm just kind of in a bad mood, but I wanted to stream that day anyway, and then chat really annoys me. And maybe that should be a sub only stream, and then chat wouldn't be as annoying, right? We'll see. Now that I know that that's possible, I will consider that. Am I not afraid if I paid you $5 and you won't answer about Cyberpunk? No, because it should be clear from the outset what is the relationship, right? Like the relationship isn't I do everything that people say. I am just not a customer is always right kind of person, right? So, and that's the same thing with the games, right? Like I bought your game and you didn't tell me the answer to the puzzle when I wanted a hint. And it's like, okay, this game's maybe not for you. Get a refund on Steam. It's fine, right? Could do sub only chat. Yeah. We've done sub only chat a couple times. Casey had the whole screen pink and is fighting with OBS. Oh, is this happening right now? Day 9 solved the problem by doing sub only chat. You must have been playing Cyberpunk. The kitchen is over there. I don't know that I would call it the nice kitchen setup. I always thought it was messy and weird to have that in the background. It was just the side effect of the way that I had my workspace oriented. I kind of want a different tea than I have. Oh, I never committed. Oh yeah, I did. Never mind. It's not in this window. Oh, that's not a folder. Okay. And let's get the thing from 400. This thing. Okay. There we go. Whoops. Why did I type Sub-Zero? So we're just going to explain in this file this thing. That you can use the dash dash and pass command line arguments to your build program. I actually don't know how subbing works in Twitch. I actually subscribe to Twitch, right? So I don't get any ads for anyone, which honestly I recommend. It makes it way better. But so if you don't subscribe to Twitch, but you do subscribe to a channel, I don't know if you get ads on that. I assume you wouldn't get ads on that channel, right? You don't get channel ads. I don't know. I'm seeing conflicting information. Oh yeah, I had decided I actually want to drink a different tea than the one that I am drinking. Cyberpink is a bug in OBS. Interesting. Do streamers make money off the ads? Yes, they do. We can go look at how much amazing money that I make from ads on Twitch. How do we do this? Insights, channel analytics. All right. Look at how much we make in a month. That's crazy. This average viewers is probably thrown off by whatever happened here. Oh, that was the no, I thought that, okay, that must have been the Michael Reeves day or the PewDiePie day. This was the beta stream day. Paid subs, prime subs, gifted subs, ads. Ads is more than a third of the money that we make. Like guys, if I moved to like Thailand or somewhere, I could just live off streaming revenue. I could become a full-time streamer. $10,000 a year, no problem. Of course, I'd get taxed on it, but now, so that ad revenue right there, by the way, is just for what happens when Twitch auto shows ads when people come to the channel. I don't know why it's so much higher. That might have been the PewDiePie boost as well. I guess it's typically 85. Although the month before this, I didn't stream very much because I was traveling, which might be why that's lower. Probably is actually. I never press the run ads button. If I did, this would be much higher than it is if I ran ads explicitly. Isn't showing revenue against TOS? I don't know. They could ban me if they want. I'll stream somewhere else. If it is against TOS, I didn't know that, but I don't think that I don't know. I value my ability to be free more than I value my ability to stream on Twitch. So if they want to ban me for that, that's their choice. Strike one? No, that would at least be strike two because I've been banned for 3 days before. You can talk about your revenue, but not other people's revenue. Okay. Why would they not want you to reveal that? I don't know. I don't know. It's just what someone said. Strikes have a 90-day cooldown. Oh, I didn't know that. I need to work harder on getting more strikes then. Okay. So we have arguments. In previous examples such as we showed, how to start up workspaces to compile programs while controlling the build process. But you may want parts of the build process. You may want you may want to be able to control what happens in the build from the command line. What do I say next? If we just, but you want to be able to add any command line arguments that you want. If we just dump them all in with the compiler's own command line arguments, there would be a great deal of ambiguity. So we use the convention that an argument that the argument dash dash indicates that everything after the dash dash is user, consists of user level arguments to that will be interpreted by a metaprogram. The compiler itself ignores these otherwise. Ignores these apart from making them available to you. Okay. First, we get these arguments into an array of strings. Let's just do that. Yeah. Print the arguments so we show what's up. So we know what's up. All right, so now to keep this example simple, we won't have a bunch of code about, we won't have a bunch of code to create workspaces and generate executables. Here we'll just set some variables to show what we would then do in code, like in what we would then do with code such as 400. Okay. Build debug is false. Build release is false. Right? For args, nah. Okay. Unknown invalid argument. Command line argument, whatever, is invalid. Valid options are debug, release. We'll just do that. And then it index and arg. Okay. If it's debug, build debug is true. Build release is true. Wait, what? Oh, because I didn't do that. Okay. Now let's pretend we are building things. Okay. I think that's it for this example, basically. So, well, except that I used colons every day. There we go. Tprint. Command line argument. Is invalid. Valid options are debug, release. Okay, so we could say dash dash nothing, no build generated, debug, building debug, release, 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 debug, debug. Okay. You can try running this example with hands such as these. Release. Release debug. and the famous one that we just did. Oops. There we go. We probably don't want zero-based arguments. Anyway, that is the thing. I recall a few years ago mentioning that I'd worry about syntax last. Have we now done that pass? We have not done that pass. We have just mostly gone forward on syntax without worrying about it. There were a few changes that have happened, but it is still the intent to do a complete pass at some point. You're curious whether streaming helps me reasoning about programming. No, not usually. It usually hinders that process, but once in a while, for example, if I'm doing LLVM stuff, there'll be someone on the stream who knows the answer to those things. Why is it highlighting the T in print? Because right now, compiler report is a little bit funny. We really, for something like this, we actually want the option to not report a line in the source code because it doesn't totally make sense to do that. We would like it to just say this, but we just haven't put that option into compiler report yet. We could add that later, but I want to get this beta out. I mean, great. Let me actually have this one run in the tests. And we almost want to put 400 in here, but we need to fix some LLVM stuff. So 420 command line. Actually, can we put command line arguments into this? I don't think we can. All right. We'll just do this for now. Okay. Okay. Let's put a new line before the there. What happens if you need to go to the bathroom during the crank session? I had to at about 2 hours and 45 minutes last time. So we're going to change the format so that there's a very short break in the middle and maybe expand it to 4 hours. Is it likely that a lot of syntax is going to change? I don't know. I am mostly happy with it, but there is some stuff, like it is a little bit more punctuation heavy than it maybe has to be. And there are some inconsistencies, but like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. So this is good. Let's run the tests. And we'll check this in. Whoops. I keep doing it from the wrong folder. Let's run non-x64. Okay. That's great. 420. I would make a joke, except I don't smoke. .400 is not in the tests because it doesn't work with LLVM backend right now. I have to fix a bug there, but I'm focusing on finishing the documentation, and then I will fix the bug. 250 runs 2 times. That's weird. Why is that? Because it's in the file twice. Probably because I probably just did that just now. All right. Thanks for pointing that out. Okay, so I want to do one more documentation, but I think it might be a good time to take a break so that my documentation brain will be fully online later. Has it actually been 3 hours into the stream, or is it 2 hours? I don't know now because we changed my clock in the middle of the stream. Did I really start at 7 a.m.? That can't be right. Maybe it is. The sun was coming up right when I started. 3:29. Okay. That's pretty good. So I'm going to take a break. I'm going to stretch, maybe do some pull-ups, whatever. And then I'll come back and we will do this other one that I preemptively lied and said is in here, 450 basic meta program. And that one is going to be, I think we're actually going to do 2. We're going to do a basic meta program that is just an adaptation of this one that we did yesterday on the C porting, right? But with even less in it. Maybe. Actually, it'll have the same amount. It'll basically just start as a copy of this. It'll have more explanation. And then down here, we'll just do a couple things. Like, we'll respond to various kinds of messages, right? And then after that, we'll do a more fun example that does like what the Sokoban game does, where it looks for functions that are tagged a certain way and then generates code based on those functions. Right? That'll be, we're going to lie about that too. That'll be 460. 460. What should I call it? Code generation. I don't know. I don't know. This is going to be a really good beta. We only shipped the last beta 3 days ago. This is already going to be one of the best betas in a while. Let me just so that I get set up to have momentum for next time, I'm just going to copy this into how to 450 basic metaprogram. Oh, we already have that, so we just do this. Okay. Okay. So that's where we're going to start in a little bit. Doesn't help us without beta access. It doesn't directly, but what we are doing is we are getting ever closer to open beta by doing these things. So it will help people without beta access by giving them beta access sooner than they otherwise would if I sat on my butt and watched TikTok all day. I mean, there's some really good dances on TikTok. You know what I mean? Slipways hit 1,000 wish lists. That's good. Good. That's quality. All right, thanks everybody. Let's see if we could raid someone. What is happening on the Twitch? Hey, 600 people. Great. Sorry to hang up. Oh, let's raid Handmade Hero. We'll be back later.